welcome to Unfiltered
I
with
do my
Roxy.
hair talk, check my nails. Baby, how you feeling?
Hey, friend, I am so glad you came to join me today on Unfiltered with Roxy. I'm your host, Roxana Feenster, aka Roxy, and I'm so glad you're here. And this episode came straight out of my real life. I wanted to do a clean out of my office space. I spent the last few weeks doing what I felt like was a deep soul detox disguised as a declutter session. I didn't plan it. I just felt like I needed to do it. Like my body said, Roxy, it's time. Earlier this year, I moved offices and it felt bittersweet. My daughter needed more space, and she took the office that we had co created during COVID and moved my stuff into where her sister was so that she could use the space. She needed more space. Her room was very small for all the stuff that she had. And so the room that I redid was a mindfulness room that I created, and the lighting was just right. Everything was just right. But I had to change my mindset for the space. And it's been since the beginning of summer. We did this in May, and now we are in end of October. So the setup is different and it's also perfect in its own way. I've got this little office that is basically soundproof. And I also have a space where I can journal, do my bike exercise pretty much in peace. And so I realized that everything takes time to grow on you. And that's what today's conversation is about. Because most times, decluttering isn't really about the stuff, it's about what's been stuck inside of us. So today, I'm sharing my own journey and four big lessons that came up along the way: the why behind the urge to clean, the renewal that comes with painting and creating, the joy hiding in the middle of the chaos, and the peace that comes from letting go and making space for new things. So grab your favorite coffee, your favorite sparkling water, and maybe a cleaning cloth. Maybe we can do this together. We're going to walk through this one piece by piece, step by step. The urge to clean, the sprint before the stillness. Have you ever gone weeks, maybe months ignoring the clutter, and then suddenly you get this wild urge to clean everything? I'm talking walls, vents, floors, every corner. That was me. It wasn't just about a messy office. It felt like my body was demanding a detox, a mind, body, and spirit clean out. I just started thinking about why these bursts happen, especially near the end of the year. It turns out our brains are wired for this. When a cycle is ending, we naturally crave those closures. We get a rush of energy, like a kind of mini adrenaline sprint before the finish line. Scientists call this goal looms larger effect. As we get closer to an ending, whether it's the end of a year, a season, or even a stage of life, our focus sharpens. The stress hormones kick in just enough to push us forward. And if you've ever done what I call death cleaning, that end of season purge that, you know, yes, it's for the end of life transition, but people on YouTube have been getting into the practice of doing this in the hopes of making their transition time to from the end of their life into something that's peaceful and meaningful for their family. So even though I'm not planning to go anywhere, I plan to probably live to at least 100. I I call this my sprint before the stillness because action clears the fog. You can't plan your way out of clutter. Sometimes you have to move your way through it. It didn't just happen. I watched a few YouTube videos, learned the basics of the best organizing tools to use, the best clean out methods to do to save time, but I just went ahead and did it. It's kind of like the time my daughter Laura replaced her rear car roll down window this past summer. And she watched one or two videos, but she didn't get stuck in the how, the preparation. We literally decided that weekend was the weekend that she was going to replace her window, and we both went to the junkyard. I mean, she had some tools. Not sure if those were all the tools we needed, but we had some tools, y'all, and we went out to the junkyard on what had to be the hottest day of the summer, and we found the car on the lot, and I tried to pay someone to take the window out for us, but it was like, I don't know, I guess everyone who was a mechanic out there knew it was too hot to be messing around. They didn't want to help us even after I said I would pay them $100. We end up having to take a car window out by ourselves. But guess what? We did it in the heat, cussing, laughing, figuring it out. But I think that was the only way to do it because sometimes you keep planning and preparing and planning and preparing and learning with nothing done. So it was like perfect. So I want to ask you, when was the last time you felt called to clean or reorganize something in your life? And what was it really about? What was underneath that? Painting has been something that I always love to do with my spaces because it's kind of easy and it can totally shift how your room is presenting. So, painting for me, I started cleaning down my walls, prepping my walls. I did not paint the office the way I wanted to because I just didn't have time, and trying to download my videos alone has been a lot. So I will come back to painting my office, but I did start painting my man cave, which I'll talk about a little bit in that process and why it was important for me to start a couple of these things, even if it was at the same time. So, painting for me was the heart of my basement reset. I've reset about 50% of the house, almost the whole basement, 40 to 50% of the house at this point. And I started fixing some cracks, sanding down the wall in the man cave, and repainting, repainting the space because it was just time. I just felt it in me. It reminded me that caring for my space is a form of self care, not just covering things up, throwing things in a room to fix one area, but then I'm making another area worse. I took time to clean the corners, to kill spiders. I know some of you are probably not going to like that, but just picking a different color because the man cave was so dark. And you'll even see in my office that I have one of the closet doors is not totally covered because my daughter had a mirror there. And when I had painted it, I couldn't get underneath it. But then my son helped me clean that out. Um, Earlier this summer as well. So I am going to repaint my office just a basic white because I love that it brightens up the space and it matches like all the other stuff that I bring in the room, art pieces, lamps, all of that good stuff. So I think as I was cleaning out everything. I did have emotional moments like, um, and I know this is going to sound funny, but I actually thought about, is this going to be my last time painting my space by myself? I'm 48 now. Am I going to be able to get up on step stools and crunched over, leaning over, bending over to paint? And then I had to remember that's not mindfulness. That's not me enjoying right now. I mean, the past was me reflecting and being scared that I would be in pain after painting like I was before when I was younger. And then me looking to the future is like, oh, I'm not going to be able to lift furniture. I'm not going to be able to do all these things I used to do. But what about the present of right now? What about honoring right now? I'm 48 and I can lift a heavy pumpkin. I can move heavy furniture. I can literally paint in a sprint my whole weekend, and I don't need to ask anyone for help because basically I did it by myself, which is like, that's great. Like, I love that for me that I was able to paint the man cave. I was able to clean out my office. And yes, I had company, and that means a lot, but I got shit done, and that feels good too. I also took a few breaks in between. I was able to paint, like make art pieces for my office as well. I had a sip and paint because it's important to take a break in between when you're doing these decluttering projects as well. Um, I let go of the idea of perfectly prepping the walls this time because I did not want to get stuck in just prepping where it's me day 2 prepping the wall again. Oh, I'm still prepping. No, I need to move. So even though I didn't do all the things of prepping my man cave in my office, I'm still going to get it done and use that energy, that momentum to get started. So even though I let go of the idea of a perfect prep, I still wanted progress. And that still means I still have to prep. I still may have to go back and touch some things up, but I'm still moving forward. I don't need to be perfect. I need to make permanent mindful changes. And part of that mindfulness is not thinking about the past, not thinking about the future, enjoying the present. And this reminds me also, I've discussed this in a past podcast about my body pump teaching days, which is progress over perfection. I don't have to be perfect at being mindful. I don't have to be a perfect painter. I don't even have to be a perfect organizer. I just have to keep making progress. I just have to keep moving forward. So, friend, I want to ask you, what's something in your life that doesn't need to be perfect? It just needs to be done. Finding fun between the chaos. I want to be real with you. Big projects can drain you. They take a lot of energy. They take a lot of effort. They take a lot of focus. That's why I added in right in the middle of my chaos a sip and paint and a visit to the pumpkin patch. And I know what you're thinking. Why would I take up so much time in between these projects on a weekend, no less, that is like that valuable time for projects like that? And all I can say is between the coats of paint, you need to take a break sometimes. You need to laugh. You need to enjoy wine. You need to laugh with your family. I wanted to do the sip and paint because my mother-in-law and I had talked about it, and I remember how good it felt before when we did it. And it's like, why not? Yes, I'm going to do it this weekend. I'm going to choose to spend time with my family and have fun. And we loved it. We loved making artwork. I took time to go to the pumpkin patch, and my girls and I loved it. We laughed through the corn maze. We had fun on the hayride. It was just something about being in nature as well. The truth is, restoration includes rest and joy. And when we take breaks, we remind our nervous system that we're safe, that we don't have to rush the healing. There's a mindfulness practice that has 5 R's: recognize, relax, review, respond, and return. Recognize what's happening without judgment, relax, breathe, slow down, review what's in your control, what isn't in your control. Respond from wisdom, not worry. Return to the present moment again and again. That's how I tried to move through this season. Recognizing the tension, relaxing into gratitude, responding with action, and always returning to joy. I even learned from mindful.org that small, consistent shifts, journaling few lines a night, noticing your breath before reacting, and just walking, all can add up to real transformation over time. So if you're in the middle of your own messy middle, please take the time to enjoy it. You're learning, you're stretching, you're becoming. And I want to let you know this: most of your time is going to be in the middle. You are waiting for that next project. You're waiting for the next season in your education. You're waiting for that next opportunity. You're waiting until you get your new house, your new car. So the middle is taking care of that car, taking care of that house, getting one house ready to sell when you're ready to move to the next house. And that might be years. Like my husband and I have a plan that we want to move down to the beach. Well, I can't just give up on the house I'm in now. And I need an office to work in right now that feels comfortable and warm and welcoming, because I do like when people come and sit with me in my office. So, what does that mean? I need to make sure that while I'm in the messy middle of waiting to buy a new office space or waiting to buy whatever it is that my next home will look like, that I'm taking care of the space I have now, that I'm taking care of the body that I'm in now. Even if it's not the 30-year-old body I had before, I want to make sure that while I'm in the middle of getting myself in the best shape, that I'm not dropping that responsibility and being like, well, I don't need to learn how to eat healthy or be clean or be mindful. I need all of those things in the middle, especially in the middle. So, how can you add something joyful to your next big project? Something that fuels your spirit while you work. I used my sip and paint and being in nature with my family. What will you use to help you? Maybe it's a trip. Maybe it's a room makeover. Decluttering isn't just organizing, it's emotional work in disguise. Here's how I approached it: mindful declutter. Be fully present with what you're keeping or tossing. Know your why. Are you keeping this out of love or fear? Plan your time. Actually schedule moments to face the mess. Have fun in between. Reward your progress. I literally touched everything in my office: papers, old notebooks, random cables. And I asked, do I even need this stuff? Does this still serve me in some capacity? Some things I had already gotten rid of, and I still had cords for them. I still had books for them. I still had boxes for things. I know. I don't even know how or why, but that's why it's important to go through all of the papers, especially. Yes, we need to keep some of the books, but most of that stuff you can get it online. Does this book or magazine still serve me? If I've already mastered something, most of the time I'm not going to go back to that book again. So some things were easy to release, others not so much. But here's a beautiful surprise. Letting go of sentimental things can bring joy when you imagine someone else using them. I had a couch in my office and it pretty much was making the space awkward because, like I said, I moved from a bigger space into a smaller space. And when I was rearranging the room earlier this summer, I just remember being like, this is just so cramped, but I still kept it in here because I was like, oh, when people come in, they'll sit in here. But because it was positioned so weirdly, I couldn't even fit it. No one would want to sit in it because where it was like it was hitting, the door was hitting it. So our neighborhood had a big dump day and I put it out for the dump day. And I even forgot, to tell you the truth, I forgot that I even had a couch in here at one point. So it's like we need to remember that most of the things we're holding on to, we won't even remember we had them, right? I had a lot of different random things that I know other people are using right now. Like my beach bag. I had a whole come to Jesus moment about giving away a beach bag that my mom had given me. And I loved the beach bag, but then I got a new beach bag. And guess what? I dumped my old beach bag. I just had it there. And it wasn't dry rot. There was nothing wrong with it. Well, I know my mom would not just want that bag sitting there. So guess what I had to do? I had to say, this can be someone else's fun thing and they would enjoy it. So I'm going to let it go. And here's the lesson in that. Order in your space comes from order in your thoughts, comes from keeping what needs to be kept and letting go of what needs to be let go of. I just want to say that again. Order in your space becomes order in your thoughts, becomes order in your life, in your mind. What's one thing in your space that you're ready to bless and release? Making your space yours. Now, this part makes me smile because my daughter was actually the one who pushed this transition of me coming into this office. She needed more space and she took the lead in rearranging everything, which is great. At least I didn't have to do it. But that was the beginning of the summer. I am just now coming to grips with that. I didn't love the idea at first, but now this new office is the perfect place for my meetings, my recordings, and my reflections. It's peaceful, it's quiet, and there's no window. But that just means I have to walk outside now. And that's a win too. Sometimes life moves you before you're ready, but it's always for alignment. Change rarely feels comfortable at first, but comfort isn't where we grow. Gratitude is. So here's my truth. Even when we downsize, we expand, we grow, we move to a new thing. Cleaning out my office turned into something much deeper, a journey of renewal, reflection, and release. My hope for you is that you start your own mindful declutter. Maybe it's one drawer, one folder, or one thought that's been sitting too long. Take your time, trust the process, and remember, look at yourself with rose colored glasses because you're doing the best you can. If this conversation spoke to you, subscribe to me on YouTube at Unfiltered with Roxy. Join my Substack where I have more reflections and go into a little bit deeper into my ideas. So until next time, keep creating space one corner at a time.